written for dinner auctioneers during those fundraisers that you may have attended. That little manual handbook that those dinner auctioneers have, somewhere right up front it says, the amount of money you wish to raise is quite closely related to the amount of wine consumed, and that you should not start auctioning until at least halfway through the main course. Get those appetizers going and those first few glasses of wine and a little more for dinner, and maybe you'll even want to wait to the dessert for us to start in on the auction, because that flow of wine has a way of turning the stoniest of hearts into flesh and into a kind of an open, generous way of being. And you might think it's cynical for those auctioneers to wait and make sure that the wine is flowing before they get started. But actually, we like it. We like those occasions when the wine is flowing in such a way that we begin to feel quite naturally generous. And yes, maybe even our children can take advantage of that after a few, adult beverages. That's when your daughter might come up and say, about that tattoo I'd like to get. Could I do that? Or here, you want the keys to the car, son, go ahead. And but now I'm going to get sidetracked here. In a wedding, let's see. So I'm where am I now? I'm in one of those fundraisers. So I've been there, and the thing about those, after a while, as that the wine is flowing and there's this cheerfulness and the auctioning begins, as I say, that it's not us being taken advantage of, because actually it does feel good. It's almost in keeping with the best part of who we are. The best part of who we are to be generous. I would even dare take it so far as to say, it reminds us that all of us came from a land of plenty, where generosity and abundance of spirit and giving and receiving of affection and love was free-flowing, and it just made us feel at home. And that's where we've come from. And when someone gives us enough wine to sort of revisit that place, it feels like, I've come home. And if you've ever been at one of these events where there's an auctioneer and all of that's going on, it almost feels like a wedding reception. And you almost expect someone to stand up and make a toast. And when I've been to wedding receptions, it's the best part of the whole event, in my opinion. I love what we do here to bring heart, mind, and soul of two people who fondly in love with one another into holy matrimony. But as we get to the reception and we sit down and the wine begins to flow, and then finally father of the bride or the best man stands up, or the maid of honor, and each of them take their turn to raise a glass. And what they're doing, they ding, 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 and get everyone's attention. It's a public. It takes some nerve and some boldness to actually do this, and people prepare. And I've never heard a toast that wasn't heartwarming. And it is because people are standing up. It's all quite public, and they begin to just spill forth a kind of a self-offering, a self-giving of respect and of kindness and affection and love for the couple. And that just adds this to the spirit that is already flowing because of the wine. A toast just adds to that even more richly, and it's a lovely thing to be part of. Well, that whole big spirit that one enjoys at maybe a fundraiser dinner or at a wedding reception was coming screechingly to a halt at a wedding in Cana of Galilee, because the wine had run out. 7 days in ancient Israel is how long a reception went on for. And so there was a lot of wine that needed to be consumed in 7 days, but I'm guessing somewhere in maybe day 3 or 4, the wine ran out. And not only did that present a great sense of disappointment, I'm sure would have among the guests, but the family's couple, I mean, the whole thing was bad. It was bad. And so Mary is turning to her son and saying, The wine has run out, and this, by the way, is the first, apart from the baptism of Jesus, where he receives the Spirit and then begins his ministry. This is chapter 1, really. It's the beginning of chapter 2 of the book of John. But this is, oddly enough, isn't it, that if this is going to be the first sign that gives us some clue that this person is somehow exceptional and has something to share with us, why would this be the sign that is highlighted? Maybe it's just the way things unfolded historically, but as John puts this gospel together, this is what he highlights. And so I think there's more here than maybe initially meets the eye. Yes, we hear this turning of wine or water into wine again and again. Here's my take on this, that it's a wonderful wedding reception, and that Spirit is flowing. And when the wine goes out, there's a great concern, and Jesus initially says, "Not my problem." And then I'm guessing he sees an opportunity, that this is one of the best experiences these folks generally ever get. And it's the best experience because, as I say, this Spirit is flowing. So he decides, somehow, some way, to take these barrels. I think if you do the math, it's 180 gallons of the finest wine that anyone has ever tasted that suddenly is available to all. And in my mind, I'm thinking, here's an opportunity for Jesus to say, all of this that you're experiencing that will perhaps end at some point, I'm going to give you a taste of what it would be like for this to never end, for this to be the norm. Because from where I have come, and may I dare say from where you have come, the land of plenty, this is the norm. In that world, we are drenched and immersed in this well of love. And from that, we have arrived here. And I'm here to tell you that given a little effort on your part and my part, that land of plenty we can recreate here. We don't have to recreate it, we just have to bring it here. And in some ways, I'm thinking of chronology, that Jesus has come from the land of plenty. He's now here, where we often get troubled with, do we have enough? And do I have to hold back my love until I get some more? But in this place, what lies ahead is sort of a return to the land of plenty. We don't have to create it. We just have to move toward it. Martin Luther King moved toward it throughout his whole life. And if there's one quality about that man that captures my imagination and heart, is his calm. He was spat on and thrown in prison, you name it, he endured it. And he did so with unbelievable, unimaginable grace and patience and class and humor. And where did he get that? I say that if he, in his own mind, thought that the beloved community, which he knew to be a reality at some level, if he knew that he was pretty much responsible to help all of us create that beloved community, beloved community side comment is like being at a wedding feast. Everyone's respected. Everyone's an honored guest. Everyone has a place at the table. There's plenty to eat. It's just fabulous, and the love is flowing. You feel it. You give it. Beloved community. If Martin Luther King felt that he needed to create that on earth, he would have run out of steam. He would have been angry. He would have been bitter, because he would have been setback, and but he knew God has already made that happen. And I can convey this. I know that I've got infinite wells of reserve in me if I know that it's just a matter of coming home. At whatever's separating me from home, from the land of plenty, from beloved community, whatever separates me now, I patiently can endure that. I may not see, as he said, the promised land, but I'm happily, steadily making my way there. And I think what we're hearing from Jesus is the same vision, that we've all come from the land of plenty, And if we dig down a little deeper and bring up from the well, buckets and buckets of this Spirit. Paul in this Corinthians reading is saying, hey, we've all been given Spirit. We all have a bucket, and we can all lower it down. And in fact, ourselves, we are the bucket as I see it, and immerse yourself into this well of love, into this land of plenty, and then come on up with your bucket, and how will you add to make what already exists in God's economy? How do we manifest that here on earth? I haven't seen it with my own eyes, but I know in my heart that beloved community has already been prepared by God for each of us. We came from that, we're here now, and we're headed in that direction. Steadily, lovingly, patiently, persistently, and we will get there.